That was easy.
Now this is one of my go-to recipes on nights when I have no clue what I'm gonna make for dinner. It's literally one of those dishes you almost always have the ingredients for sitting right in your refrigerator, your freezer, or your pantry. It starts with prepping 6 to 7 cups of chopped vegetables. Now I always use broccoli in this mix. It does a really nice job of soaking up the juices of the stir fry. I'm also using carrots today. I just grab a bag of the baby carrots, usually the organic ones, and then I chop them into bite-sized pieces. The third vegetable I'm gonna do is red bell pepper. I know there's many different ways you can chop a bell pepper. This is how I do it. I just go along the edges, just like this. And if you're in a pinch, you can definitely use frozen vegetables as well. All right, so you wanna make sure you avoid the seeds as much as you can. All right, that looks good. Now you just need to preheat a frying pan on about medium-high heat for about 30 seconds before you add the vegetables. Take a spray bottle with your favorite oil. I do a little bit of olive oil, or you can avoid oil altogether and just use some water. Now you'll want to do your best to make it in a nice, even layer. And of course, the bigger the pan, the better. Now it's called a stir fry, but we're actually not gonna stir it at all. We're just gonna leave it alone for about 4 minutes. We wanna let that first side cook and get a nice little bit of color going. In the meantime, let's make our spice blend. So simple, it's just 3 ingredients. 1 teaspoon of ginger. We're doing a teaspoon of garlic powder as well. Lastly, we have 1.5 teaspoons of onion powder. Okay, stir that. And what we can do is sprinkle this over the top of the vegetables right now while it's cooking. And one little trick I should mention, if you feel like it might be burning, of course you can turn down the heat, but you can also add a few drops of water that will help loosen things up and prevent extra burning. Let's see how it's looking. You can see that the broccoli is starting to turn a nice bright color. Flip this over. See that little bit of brown there? That's exactly what you want. And you could even let it go a little bit longer than this. Get it back into a nice single layer. Okay, so we're gonna let this sit for another 4 minutes on this side. Let's make our sauce. Now I have to say, this recipe was inspired by my grandma Norma. She made stir fries all the time, and all she would add are our next 2 ingredients. Okay, so we're starting with 2.5 tablespoons of soy sauce. I'm gonna add 2 tablespoons of water just so that we get a little extra sauce out of this mix. 1/4 cup of orange marmalade. So what we want to do is just very carefully stir it all together so that the orange pieces are pretty evenly distributed throughout the soy sauce and water. Now we're gonna get our beans ready. Now, I know this might sound kind of weird, using beans in stir fry, but it's actually excellent. It's a fantastic meat substitute, loaded with protein and fiber and flavor, and it's really inexpensive compared to meat. I love using beans in recipes, especially stir fries. Now we just need about 2 cups or a 15-ounce can of beans. I always like to use black beans because I think it looks really nice with the colorful vegetables, but you can use any type of bean you like. This is actually 1 can of beans that I've already drained and rinsed. But here's a little tip. Once that's done, I put it back into a container like this, fill it up with water so it's completely covered, and let them soak for as much time as possible before I need them. It makes it much easier on the stomach. For those who are sensitive to beans, you know what I'm saying? Giving any extra time that you can and soaking just like this can really, really help, even if it's just 20 minutes. Take those beans, drain them off, get all the extra moisture out. You can even run them through the water again, get that extra starch off. Okay, let's check on our vegetables. All right, oh yeah, that's some good color. All right, since it's starting to get a little dark, I'm gonna quickly add the sauce. All right, I think we got that just in time. Okay, give this a nice stir. Don't let that dark color scare you. That actually means flavor. Stir that in. I'm actually gonna turn it down to a simmer at this point. Just let that sauce soak into the vegetables. And then lastly, I'm gonna add those beans. We just need to warm them through, so they don't need to be in there very long at all. So we'll just stir those in. It's looking really, really pretty. All right, turn off our heat. Now you can put this stir fry over brown rice or quinoa or cauliflower rice. Get creative, do whatever you like. so the first step is you wanna take 2 cans of black beans, about 15-ounce cans. You wanna drain them and rinse them, and then do what I did, which is let them soak. So these have been sitting overnight. Drain them off. Give them another rinse. Get that extra little bit of starch off. Some people have a really hard time tolerating beans. Soaking them, whether it's 20 minutes, overnight, a couple of days, as long as you have, the better off you will be in digesting those beans. And let those sit. Let that little bit of excess water drain off. In the meantime, take 2 tablespoons of ground flaxseed and add it to 1/3 cup of water. Give that a little stir. Now what this is doing is we're creating our binder or an egg replacer. You usually want to let it sit for about 3 minutes or so. Now that these have drained off, we'll transfer them over to a mixing bowl. At this point, you want to grab either a potato masher or a large fork and give them a nice little rough mash. You don't want to completely pulverize these beans, you just want to smash them so that it looks something like this. All right, next we just start dumping into the bowl, starting with our spices. 4 teaspoons of chili powder, 1/4 teaspoon of cayenne going in. We have oregano and cumin. I have 4 teaspoons of onion powder, we have some garlic powder, a little bit of sugar, and some salt. I add that sugar because it helps to round out the flavors and bring out the flavors in our next ingredient, which is 1 cup of corn. Now I like to keep things simple, so I just use some frozen corn and let it thaw on the counter for a little while. If you're short on time, you can always stick it in the microwave to get it thawed. I wanna get this nice and mixed together. Now we're gonna add our last 2 ingredients, which is our ground flaxseed mixture and 1 cup of brown rice. Now this is brown rice that has been cooked and mostly cooled. You don't want it to be hot. You just want to gently stir it together. You don't want that brown rice to get really mushy in there, so just give it a nice toss until everything is mixed together. Now here's one of the bonuses to making plant-based food. You can taste it before you cook it to make sure it tastes all right. Fantastic. Got enough salt. I think we're good to go. Next step, we want to heat up our pan. I'm gonna add just a thin layer of olive oil here. Even though my pan is pre-seasoned, the oil adds a nice little texture to those burgers, a little bit of a crispiness. All right, we're gonna let this warm up. Let's actually do, it's about medium-high heat, maybe a little bit closer to the medium. Okay, let's make our burgers. I like to smooth over the top so that I can nicely divide this into 6 different patties. You can always make them smaller or larger according to what you want. So delicious, okay? Put our little guy in there. These patties are also nice for cookouts. If you're barbecuing, you just want to cook them ahead of time and then just reheat them on the barbecue so that they don't fall apart. And our last one, look at that, all 6 fit in here. This is a 14-inch pan. Definitely don't want to get in a hurry here. You want to let these work their magic. Toppings, I keep it pretty basic. These burgers are really flavorful, so they don't need much. I like to do a nice light crispy lettuce, like bib lettuce like I have here. Iceberg also works, and so does romaine. Take a nice ripe tomato. Nice sharp serrated knife does the trick nicely here. Huge fan of tomatoes. Lastly, avocado. Avocado is a fantastic topping for these black bean burgers. I think I'll wait until the very last minute to get that avocado out of the skin so that it doesn't start turning brown. Ooh, this is a stubborn pit. There we go. Got it. Okay. I let this sit face down so that it doesn't turn brown. Let's go flip those burgers. All right, cast iron skillet, did you do the job? Yes, you did. You definitely want to look for that brown once you flip it over. That means that it's got a nice texture on the outside and it was ready to be flipped. Now, the last thing we need to talk about, buns. I always look for really soft, whole grain buns just like these. You can usually find them in places like Whole Foods, but usually almost any grocery store has whole wheat buns at this point. You can just stick with the buns as is, or you can toast them. Toasting definitely is the way to go. I highly recommend it. Now, I'll admit, if we have company coming over, I'll do a little extra something with these buns. I'll add some non-dairy butter, like some Earth Balance, before I toast them. It just adds a little bit of a richness, makes them really feel special, but it's not necessary to make these good because that avocado adds a nice creaminess too. So to be able to tell if they're done, you really want to feel a little bit of a firmness. If it feels like they're really soft still, You can put them right back in for a couple more minutes and let them firm up a little bit. Squish them together just like this. So we have beautiful, perfect patties. Looks like it might be about ready. Let's see if we've got a winner this time. Yes, this one held together really nicely when I picked it up. That means it is good to go. Let's grab a plate. All right. Yes, this one is definitely ready to go. It held its shape really nicely. All right, the fire is turned off. At this point, we just want to give these a light toast. So we just set them in there nice and lightly. Just let them be for a moment. Okay, I actually like to toast both sides. There we go, they're nice and warm. It's just a really light toasting that we're doing here. Make sure it's nice and toasty warm. It really makes a big difference. Okay. Take our nice toasted bun. Now we're gonna start building some toppings on either side of the bun, and then we'll add the patty last. Ketchup is always a good idea, right? Next, let's do a little bit of lettuce, a little bit of tomato. Take our avocado, a couple slices right onto the bun. Our bun is prepped. Final step, get our burger patty. Put that right on top of the tomatoes. I do have to say one thing I like to add anytime avocado is involved is a little bit of salt. So I'll take a little bit of salt, add that to the avocado. It's right on top, just like this. Look at that. I mean, come on. Isn't that amazing looking? So gorgeous. We have our tomato, lettuce, the little specks of corn and the rice and the beans, avocado. I can't wait to eat this, I'm starving. You start with 2 cans of diced tomatoes, 2.5 cups of water. You can also do vegetable broth if you like. 1 can of white beans that have been drained and rinsed. 1 whole bag of mixed vegetables. This one has peas, corns, carrots, and green beans. Don't have to cook them first or anything. 1 cup of frozen spinach. I get the chopped spinach, and you can always add more. Yeah, good enough. We have some spices in here. We have oregano, basil, a little bit of salt, onion powder, tiny bit of sugar, all going in. And then lastly, either tomato paste or ketchup. Now let's use ketchup because that's what everybody has, right? This will add a little bit of sweetness and a little bit of richness, extra tomatoey type of flavor right into the soup. It's kind of the secret ingredient. Whoops, that went everywhere. About 1.5 tablespoons. Now if you're busy, like me, I have twin toddler boys. This recipe is so fast, so easy, and so delicious. You want to bring it to a boil and then bring it down to a simmer for about 15 minutes and you are set. You have the heartiest, most delicious, warming vegetable soup on the planet. Give it a try. The recipe is on audreydunham.com. I hope you love it.